Hey everyone, if this is your first time listening to the Hashtag History podcast, we just wanted to give you a quick rundown of what to expect in this week's episode. As our longtime listeners know, for the first 10 or so minutes of the episode, we provide a brief introduction with some shocking details about what we will be covering this week. We then try out a cocktail together, we give it a rating, and then we jump right into the topic at hand. This particular episode required a deep background dive into the topic, so you will find that the first half of the episode is primarily focused on the background of golf and the Masters tournament. Woohoo! I promise it's fun. And then the second half of the episode is where we really dive into the racist history of the tournament. So I just wanted to be clear with that up front, what to expect insofar as how the episode is laid out. A final comment that I did want to make is that this particular episode did include more back and forth conversation than our normal episodes do. The topic that we're covering this week allowed for many opportunities to really dive into different experiences and different perspectives on things, and we just wanted to give you the heads up about that. Thank you so much for being here and for listening to the episode. We're so glad you're here. This is Hashtag History, episode 96. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And let's just talk about husbands really quickly.
Okay.
The nice things about that.
Okay. Different mindset. Okay.
Yeah. You know that I'm obsessed with my husband.
Right. Because he's an angel.
Because he's an actual angel.
Yeah.
Love him so much.
Yes.
But my husband's two favorite sports in the whole world are the only two sports that I can confidently say I never once watched on purpose before I met him.
Yeah.
One of those is obviously
boxing.
Yeah. And the other
boxing games. Yes.
The boxing games. I watch all the games. The other one is golf. In fact, since we've been...
Is that really a sport? I'm joking.
I'm joking.
I'm joking.
He's like our biggest, most loyal fan, and you just lost us our most loyal listener by saying
it was
that.
a joke because I knew that would be offensive.
Even now, as we're recording, I can see that he's like left the house to go out to the driving range.
Yeah.
He loves golf. If it were like, you know, a baseball game, I love baseball games.
Yeah.
I love baseball games.
What's not to love? There's food.
There's food.
There's
You're out
beer.
in the sun. You can wear the baseball cap.
Honestly, you don't even need to watch the game in a baseball game.
Not really, but honestly, if you want to watch the game, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
A hockey game, I enjoy those.
We've been to both
We've
together.
been to both of those things together.
Yeah.
But golf.
Yeah, why? Not why.
Golf.
I get there's obviously an appeal to it since so many people love it, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I can understand enjoying playing golf. Playing golf? Golfing. I get like you're out, same thing. You're out there, it's probably quiet, it's very serene, you get to walk around, all this stuff. I don't understand, and I never will understand the appeal of watching golf.
He does both. Alex loves golf. Golf is on TV without fail every weekend. Literally, as I was researching this episode, the Arnold Palmer Invitational was on the TV.
Why do they have an invitational named after a drink? I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Like, why would they do that? That's so weird. But yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. It was before researching for this episode, the only thing I, not really kidding, knew about Arnold Palmer was the drink. My husband goes to the driving range every chance he gets. When we go to Goodwill together, he instantly disappears to the back of the store to check out the golf clubs. His morning alarm clock is literally the musical theme for the Masters tournament. It's a long time love of his. He was part of the Latino Golfer Association as a kid. It's his thing.
Okay. I mean, I know this. I just don't understand it.
Yeah. And truly, I should explain why I'm even bringing this up.
Okay.
Because this week's episode was entirely inspired by him and a seed that he's been planting in my mind for literal years. Because while he contends that the Masters tournament is the greatest tournament in all of golf, it is also absolutely riddled in racist history. The Masters was systemically white, upper-class men. Despite it beginning in 1934, the first black golfer would not be allowed to compete in the tournament until 1975. 1975. The club would not admit its first black member until 1990. Co-founder of the tournament, Clifford Roberts, was allegedly quoted as saying, quote, "As long as I'm alive, all the golfers will be white and all the caddies will be black," unquote.
Ew.
Yes. Oh, that... I'm just scratching the surface.
I know, I'm going to get really upset.
Yes. And although we will primarily be focusing on the racist history of the Masters, we also have to acknowledge its sexist history too. Membership to the Masters Club would not even be offered to women until, I'm not sure you're ready for this, 2012. We'll talk about who those women were that were admitted later in the episode. You remember when we covered heavyweight boxing champion Joe Louis in episode 42.
How could I forget? It's one of our favorites.
It's one of our favorites, and I'm so glad you said that, because that's exactly what I was going to say, is that I started my research at the behest of my husband, and then quickly became obsessed with the topic, and it became one of my favorite episodes that we've ever done.
Yeah.
Same thing happened here again. He is always right, because he does only suggest these topics to me because he knows that I will end up totally jiving with them.
Yeah.
Even if they are about things like boxing and golf.
I
cannot wait to get into this week's heavy topic. But first, let's have a hopefully heavy drink.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And this is Hashtag History, the podcast for both history nerds and history haters alike, where we dive into history's greatest stories of controversy, conspiracy, and corruption.
Okay, so first and foremost, a huge shout out to Vanessa and Laura from A Tap on the Wrist, which is a podcast.
Yes, they're another history cocktail podcast.
Yeah. There's a few of us out there.
There's a few of us out there hosted by amazing, amazing women.
Yeah. So they bought us 3 cocktails in total.
They're so nice.
And they left us a message saying, cheers, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa and Laura.
Thank you. And cheers to you.
And cheers to you. Thank you so much for supporting this important and educational endeavor that we're about to embark on.
Entirely
and thank you to everybody else who has ever purchased us our cocktails for each episode. And if you ever want to, you can sponsor or pay for a cocktail.
Yep. You can find the link to do that at the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can head to our website at hashtaghistory-pod.com, and it's under our support us tab, which we've considered changing the name to Please Support Us. But for right now, it is currently just Support Us.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's
in parentheses, please.
In parentheses, very, very small, in like a font that you can't see. It says, "Dear God, please." You can support our cocktails. They really mean so much to us.
Yeah, and I love the messages everyone leaves.
I do too. I love getting to hear from people that listen to the podcast and the fun things that they have to say. So thank you so much to everybody.
Yeah. So today, thanks to the brilliant suggestion of my co-host, Rachel.
Alex again.
Alex.
It was Alex's suggestion.
Thanks, Alex.
Yep.
We will be drinking a John Daly, which contains 1.5 ounces of vodka, 2 ounces of lemonade, 2 ounces of iced tea, and then you're supposed to garnish with a lemon wheel, but we aren't like that.
And when she says we, she means me. That was my job, and I did not pick up a lemon at the store.
No, it's not your fault at all. I also don't have lemons, so.
Well, that's not your fault at all. I was literally at the grocery store, and it was on my list to grab a lemon.
But if you couldn't tell from that list of ingredients, it's essentially like spiked Arnold Palmer. Mm-hmm. So I'm very excited because that's one of my favorite beverages.
It's one of my most favorite beverages. I saw this amazing meme that was like, you know, the Arizona iced teas or whatever. There's an Arnold Palmer one. They're like dirt cheap. And it was like, whoever's in charge of pricing for the Arizona iced teas, can we put them in charge of inflation, please? Because those things have been 99 cents for like a decade.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like, they're cheaper than water. If you go to the gas station, like, I guess I will just put sugar in my body instead of buying a water
It's just straight sugar, essentially. But delicious tasting. Straight sugar.
Very inexpensive.
Very inexpensive.
Anyway, cheers.
And huge bottles.
Huge.
Sorry.
No.
I just had to keep going.
I know. We could talk about this for a long time. I've always wondered, like, how
even their jugs, I'm like, the jugs are like, what, $1.50?
Yes.
It's crazy.
I don't know who's managing things over there, but we need to give them more power. You know what I mean? Or maybe it's because no one is managing. They like literally don't even have like a finance department.
Yeah, they haven't made money for like 20 years. They're just like...
just surviving.
Just surviving.
I hope that there isn't actually like some bad history of Arizona iced teas, because from where I'm sitting with zero knowledge about the inner workings of that company, I love them.
Yeah, same. So yeah, it's essentially a spiked Arnold Palmer, which we're not mad at.
No.
As I'm sure we will get into further in this episode, John Daly, who the drink is named after, is a professional golfer. So there's your episode tie-in. Not that we ever really need one.
No, we really don't, but we try. Okay. Cheers. Something that if we happen to have people that really love golf that listen to the podcast.
Yeah, Alex.
Yeah, Alex. Something that's interesting about the Arnold Palmer that a lot of people don't know, Arnold Palmer drink, is that it's actually, the majority of people believe that it's equal part lemonade and iced tea. It's actually supposed to be more like 2/3 iced tea, 1/3 lemonade.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, that was just a side note if you're making a legit Arnold Palmer.
I think that I usually put a little more iced tea than lemonade.
I think when I have the Arizona iced tea Arnold Palmer one, it always does taste more tea than lemonade.
Yeah. This one was equal parts. So
delicious. Rating?
Refreshing. I mean, it's not like the best thing I've ever had, so 6.5.
Okay. I'm going to go all the way up to an 8 because I would drink this every day, all day. But it's not...
There's nothing special about it.
Nothing stands out about it, but it's an easy, refreshing drink that I would drink again and again and again. And it's so simple. I think that's a lot of it too. All right. So I think we have to begin with the origins of the Masters Tournament and what exactly it is. Have you ever watched the Masters Tournament? Okay, sorry. It's a dumb question.
I've probably seen it on at a bar in the background.
Yeah.
Or something.
The Masters Tournament, or just simply called the Masters, is an invitational golf tournament that began in 1934 and has been held every year since during the first full week in April. The only exceptions to this that I know of were the 1943, 1944, and 1945 tournaments, which were canceled due to World War II. Additionally, there was a postponement of the tournament in 2020 due to the coronavirus pandemic. They still held the Masters that year, but it was postponed and held in November instead.
Ooh, was it cold?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Golf is interesting in that way. Like I shared at the top of the episode, golf is always on the television. If boxing's not on the television, it's golf. When it was on the TV this morning, it was so windy where they were playing that you could hear, like the announcers were having to speak loudly because it was like in the background, and you could see the poles that are in the poles in the holes waving crazy. And Alex was saying like it super affects, obviously, the way they play. It's a tiny, tiny little ball that is so lightweight.
It is impressive. I will admit that golf is impressive.
It's so impressive.
They're hitting a tiny, like you said, tiny little ball.
Yeah.
A ton of yards down the green.
Yes, sometimes over hills, over
wind,
water, with
rain.
Yes.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why people watch it. Maybe we just cracked the code.
Anyway, to answer your question, was it cold in November? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. But that is the really interesting thing about golf is they still play through a lot of different varying weather conditions.
Yeah.
The tournament takes place at the Augusta National Golf Club in Augusta, Georgia. It's always held in the same place, which is unique in comparison to the other major championships.
Yeah, that is unique.
Mm-hmm. There are 4 major championships in golf: the Masters, the U.S. Open, the British Open, and the Professional Golfers Association of America Championship, or the PGA Championship.
I've heard of that one.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about the PGA a lot as this episode goes on.
Mm-hmm.
It was founded by amateur champion Bobby Jones and investment banker Clifford Roberts, whom we heard that awful quote from at the intro of the episode.
Yeah.
My husband regularly refers to the Masters as the greatest of the golf tournaments because it is, in his words, the greatest viewing experience.
Okay.
There are limited commercial breaks because the Augusta National Golf Club runs the whole thing. They don't need ad money to hold the tournament.
Okay.
Dating back to the 1970s, the final round of the tournament can be viewed on YouTube. You can literally follow a player around the golf course on the Masters mobile app, and from there you can watch every shot from that player, and the audience is different at the Masters. If you've ever watched golf on television, or even if it's been in the background and you happen to catch a little bit of it, you will hear audience members yelling random shit out, or you'll see everyone and their mother holding up their phones to record everything, right? Like Alex has even heard one time when he was watching golf on television, they like hit the ball and someone just screamed out mashed potatoes, like mashed potatoes. And that's people, because they're drinking, they're just like hanging out in the sun.
That's the other reason people like to golf.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, it can get a little, I don't want to say wild, compared to other sports, but it can get a little
golf can get wild.
It can get wild out there. Sometimes people are screaming about mashed potatoes.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like, you do hear stories about, like, people going golfing. Like, I say you hear stories because I've literally never golfed in my life. But, like, they golf and they just drink the whole day. Like, they just go and they drink, and so they're kind of hot messes.
Yeah, I've watched great videos of audience members at these golf tournaments holding a beer and, like, walking, like, zigzag, trying to, like, get from one hole to the next.
Yeah, that could be entertaining.
Yeah, no, I totally appreciate that part. That is simply not allowed at the Masters tournament, though. Mm-hmm. The audience is not allowed to shout random stuff, and phones, cameras, beepers, and other electronic devices are strictly prohibited on the grounds. The audience members at the Masters aren't even referred to as the audience or fans. They are referred to as patrons.
You have to pay to be there.
To even attend the Masters, you have to enter the Augusta National Ticket Lottery. And that's not to say that if you get selected in this lottery that you can just show up. Oh no, you still have to pay.
Oh yeah.
But you have to get invited to pay.
Yeah. It's like,
it's an invitation to pay.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
You're still paying for it, but wow, what an honor.
Isn't that like kind of how Hamilton was at like its peak, where it's like, it was like you entered a lottery and then you got selected and then you had to pay thousands of dollars or whatever.
But congratulations on winning the lottery.
Congrats.
Yeah. The Masters is truly a different kind of experience, as co-founder Jones was quoted as saying of the tournament, quote, "Our goal is to develop a golf course and a retreat of such stature and of such excellence that men of some means might find the club worthwhile as an extra luxury where they might visit and play with kindred spirits from other parts of the nation," unquote.
From a business perspective, I get it.
Yeah.
You want it to look elite and like expensive, and the people of a certain wealth will probably see that and want to buy into it.
Yeah.
I get it.
And I appreciate the things that, Alex was saying about it being the greatest viewing experience. If the Augusta National Golf Club, they run the whole thing, they don't need ad money.
No.
So it is like a pleasurable experience, whether you're there on the course or not. It's definitely, an attractive thing.
Yeah.
Just like all clubs, though, they have a lot of weird club traditions. Yeah. I actually have a picture here from the 2020 Masters Champion Dinner that I'd like you to check out and let me know if you spot a rather glaring trend.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
And no, not the fact that 99% of the men pictured are white.
Are white, okay.
That's not the trend.
That's not the trend we're looking at. Okay, give me a minute.
It's the most obvious thing.
They're all wearing jackets? Green jackets?
Yeah. Oh, I know you were trying to
I was
they
like,
all
they
have a
all
ring
have nose hairs that extend. Their right nostril is trimmed. Their left nostril is not trimmed.
They're all bald.
Well, that's mostly true.
Mostly true.
But yeah, so they're wearing like green club jackets.
Yeah.
Much like all like fraternities. Yeah. Not all, but a lot of like the higher elite fraternities. Mm-hmm. You have to buy the club jacket or whatever.
Exactly. So that's one of these club traditions. These jackets here that they're all wearing are green jackets, which are awarded to all champions or members of the Masters. So these jackets, they've been a part of the Masters tradition since 1949.
Okay.
If you win the Masters, you receive one of these jackets.
Yeah.
It's put on you at the end of the event by the previous year's champion, and you are given 1 year to flaunt the shit out of this thing.
Okay.
But after 1 year, you must return the green jacket to the Augusta Clubhouse, where it is stored along with other champions' jackets forever and ever. Amen. Weird, right? Isn't that a weird tradition?
That is weird.
Such a weird tradition.
That's weird.
I'm like, is it my jacket or not? Did I earn this or not?
Like, what happens if you are like, no, you can't have the jacket back?
What happens if I keep it for 367 days instead?
Do I get hunted down?
Yeah. Amazing, right? And just to throw some names out there that I imagine will be familiar to even those that do not watch golf, just to give some reference, Tiger Woods has won 5 Masters. Arnold Palmer won 4. Phil Mickelson, the guy from the arthritis commercials, he's won 3 Masters. And Jack Nicklaus, with the most Masters wins, has won 6. All right. Well, I think that's enough background on this particular tournament. Now let's get to the more narrowed focus of this week's episode.
Okay.
Golf as a sport has been historically racist. PGA of America, which controls professional golf requirements, had from 1934 to 1964 a Caucasian clause.
Ew.
Which literally stated that you must be Caucasian in order to play professionally.
Ew.
This clause would not be dropped until 1964. When this clause was dropped, the PGA instead changed things to state that playing on their professional courses would be by invitation only, which was a vague, but also not so vague way of still saying, if you are not white, you are not invited to play on our grounds.
Ew.
There's a story that comes from the 1950s in which 5 African Americans were walking across a public golf course in Greensboro, North Carolina, and were convicted of trespassing.
It's a public golf course?
Exactly. So when it was argued that this was a public course and therefore it's open to anybody and everybody, the city made the decision to lease the public course to a private company that then created rules that no blacks were allowed on the course. Several other cities followed suit.
Sorry, I hope my silence is deafening.
Yeah. I think we also have to acknowledge the role that location has in this whole story. The Masters is located in Augusta, Georgia, which is in the deep South. A lot of major civil rights movement events came out of this particular city because of the historically severe racism here. Mm-hmm. In fact, in 1970, the largest urban uprising to occur in the South would occur here. It's known as the Augusta Race Riots. This event would end with the death of 6 black men at the hands of the police. So remember how I read that awful quote earlier about all caddies being black and all players being white?
Yeah.
This wasn't a one-off racist comment. This wasn't like a preference thing. This was quite literally a rule for the Augusta Club, and this would remain a rule until 1983, when the rule was changed to allow players to personally select their own caddies.
What the
Yes. I think we also need to take a moment just to reflect on the name of this tournament. This tournament is quite literally called the Masters.
Yeah.
And all the caddies were black.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm kind of dumbfounded.
Yeah, like what else could it mean?
Like what else could it mean?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't mean that, there still is an argument for it could very, very easily be construed, or assumed that it does mean that. It does still have negative racist connotations, in my personal opinion.
Did you know that Elvis once showed up to the White House high as a kite with a bunch of guns?
Did you know that Eleanor Roosevelt once had a romantic relationship with a lesbian reporter?
Hi, we're Stephanie.
And Tux.
From Beyond Reproach, a comedic history podcast where we talk about political scandals like how FDR's grandfather made the family fortune smuggling dope.
And messy government officials like President Johnson, who named his dick Jumbo and would wave it around at people on Capitol Hill.
Gross.
And we do it all while drinking period-appropriate historic cocktails, like JFK's favorite, the Lime Daiquiri.
We are not historians, we're just a couple of drunks who never shut up and love history. We hope you'll join us on Beyond Reproach for some big facts, good laughs, a little bit of swearing, a lot of drinking, and a real good time.
You can find Beyond Reproach wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Even if there weren't these legal barriers working against minority players, I think it's also worth mentioning the financial barriers. Golf is considered to be one of the most expensive sports in the world.
And this is actually something, sorry to interrupt.
No, please do.
Nico and I were just having a conversation about. He was trying to explain to me why he doesn't like the Winter Olympics.
Because they're for privileged people?
Because the Winter Olympics are for privileged people who can afford to buy ice skates or time on the rink, who can afford to buy that ski pass up the mountain and all the gear that goes with it. And I never thought of that.
I always think about that because I think with summer sports and stuff, or I'm sorry, the Summer Olympics, it's like running. Anyone can run with.
And there's definitely some Summer Olympics where like you have to kind of pay your way.
Even, I mean, gymnastics is a very expensive sport. But
there's more where it's like that was exactly his argument, which I'd never thought of before, where he was like, anyone can go and run. And then, okay, you see, oh, they're talented. And then whatever, it goes from there.
Yep.
In order for you to even know they're talented at skiing, they have to buy a $50 ski pass up the mountain.
And winter sports are incredibly exclusive to environment in that unless you live in a cold state, like a lot of winter sports or athletes are not from like cold regions, but it's because they have the means to go to these manufactured, built, colder environments that have been adapted to their sport.
And golf is exactly like that. It's a manufactured course that you have to pay your way onto, and you have to pay for all the equipment. You can't just, I mean, I guess if you're my husband, you can pick up a set of golf clubs off the side of the road and use that.
But as we get into it, I mean, my husband loves golf. Are we of like crazy financial means? No, like we don't have memberships anywhere or anything like that. And so there are ways, I think with a lot of sports, there are ways to do it. As we get into it, there's a lot of factors here that work against people that maybe, these are financial barriers for them.
100%. Yeah.
So generally speaking, the costs that are associated with playing golf include, like you just mentioned, golf clubs. So for a full bag of really, really nice golf clubs, you're looking at a couple $1,000s. Even if you go on the cheaper end of things, say a set of clubs from Costco, those are around $500.
Yeah.
A box of a dozen balls can cost anywhere from $15 all the way to $50.
Yeah.
For shoes, you're generally looking at somewhere between like $65 and a couple $100. You need a bag, to an actual bag to store the golf clubs in, and those can range anywhere from $65 to a few $100s. The majority of 18-hole courses, they have a dress code of slacks and a polo shirt. So think about the costs that are associated with that. And finally, you have to pay for your time on the actual course. This, ranges from course to course. I can speak to those that are local to me. For example, a course that's close to me costs $12 to play 9 holes, whereas nicer courses like Pebble Beach, for example, is like $400 to $500 for 18 holes.
Yeah, I was going to say $12. That's not bad at all, because the only courses I'm super familiar with, I know we have quite a few actually around us, but the one I'm most familiar with is in Bodega Bay. It's like a course right on the coast. It's crazy expensive.
Yeah. Like at a country club, just to become a member, it's like $30,000 a year. And like $800 a month. That's one of the cheaper examples of one that's near me. And this is just a final note that's not necessarily financial, but it also sort of is. And this goes back to kind of when you and I were talking about even winter sports. When you play an 18-hole course, you're looking at about 5 hours of time. So think about who can afford to regularly play for 5 hours at a time. Like I said, there isn't necessarily a monetary value associated with that.
But time is money.
Exactly. There also sort of is a monetary value associated with that. You have to come from a very comfortable, perhaps privileged lifestyle to afford to take a full day off of work to get that kind of time out on the course. So again, I think that kind of goes to what we were saying earlier when we were talking about the Winter Olympics is, when you look at other sports, maybe like in the Summer Olympics, like running or basketball or soccer or things like that, you don't have to pay for your time on the course or court. It's something that you can pick up without having a whole lot of equipment fees. And it's something that, speaking to this last point that I just made, you're not taking 5 hours off of work every day or full days off of work to be able to run on the track.
Yeah. And I am also very curious, and I'm sure I'm not expecting you to have an answer here, but I would be curious to see how much of the cost of all of this stuff, what the numbers you just said are compared to the actual cost of producing these. Like, do golf clubs actually cost $500? Like, obviously there's always a markup for selling. The companies need to make, but like how much of this
is an inflated markup?
Not only to make money, but to dissuade certain groups to not be a part of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's a really excellent point. Now, despite these barriers, this certainly isn't to say that Black men weren't playing and excelling in golf. In fact, we know of a Black athlete named Charlie Sifford who won both the 1967 Greater Hartford Open and the 1969 Los Angeles Open, and yet he was not invited to the Masters tournament as the Masters committee deemed he, quote, did not meet the qualifications, unquote. These two tournaments that he won are on the PGA Tour, which means that he should have qualified for the Masters.
Yeah.
Sifford was quoted as saying, quote, "To my mind, the Masters was the worst redneck tournament in the country, run by people who openly discriminated against Blacks, but somehow got away with it," unquote. Sifford was quoted as saying that all he wanted was just a chance to play. And he definitely said as much in his 1991 autobiography titled Just Let Me Play, the story of Charlie Sifford, the first Black PGA golfer. It wouldn't be until 1975 that Lee Elder, also a Black golfer, would be invited to play at the Masters, making him the first Black athlete to ever play the tournament. Elder has a pretty fascinating story. He actually didn't even start playing golf until he was 16 years old, after having worked as a caddy and observing and absorbing everything he could from the men that he worked for. He actually once fought Joe Louis. Yeah, crazy,
what?
Right? All of these things weave into each other, right?
Yeah.
Joe Louis, we talked about him in our episode 42, and we even talked about him earlier in this episode.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And that's actually how he met his eventual golf instructor, Ted Rhodes. While serving in the military, he was under the command of a colonel that was also a major golf lover, and this allowed Elder the opportunity to really hone in on his skills. When he left the military in 1961, he joined the United Golf Association Tour, which was specifically for Black players. And here's where Elder was kicking ass, winning 18 of 22 consecutive tournaments.
Dang.
It was shortly after this that the PGA dropped their horrendous Caucasian clause, and Elder began raising money in order to attend a particular school that you have to graduate from in order to play the PGA Tour.
Okay.
While working on qualifying for the Masters, Elder was playing at the Monsanto Open in 1968 in Pensacola, Florida, where he and the other Black golfers were not allowed to change their clothing in the clubhouse with all of the other players. Because, despite the fact that the horrendous Caucasian clause had been dropped, each of these private courses still have their own rules, and this particular course did not allow for Black Americans to enter the clubhouse. Elder and the other Black players at this event were forced to change their clothing in the parking lot. Isn't that horrible? They're literally playing in the tournament. They have to change their clothing in the parking lot. You're allowed on the course, but not in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be until 1975 that Elder would qualify and be invited to the Masters. The racism was rampant when Elder was playing in the 1975 tournament. In fact, he received so much hate mail and so many death threats at this time that he ended up renting 2 separate houses during the tour and kept moving between the 2 of them so that no one ever knew where he was staying. Elder did not win the Masters, but he would be invited back to play a total of 5 times between the years of 1977 and 1981.
I also would like to point out that because he's having to deal with the stress and the logistics of moving from one house to another every day.
He doesn't have the same circumstances. It's not a fair
fair
playing field.
So of course he didn't win.
Mm-hmm.
Had he had actual equal accommodations and treatment,
mm-hmm.
would he have won?
Yeah. Wow. That's a really great perspective. Even after Elder was a part of these professional events and clearly proving himself as a very successful professional and experienced golfer, there was still a lot of racism bleeding through. In 1994, Jack Nicklaus, whom I mentioned earlier as the golfer with the most Masters wins, he gave an explanation for why there are so fewer Black athletes than white athletes in golf.
Mm-hmm.
And that is because Black people have, quote, different muscles that react in different ways.
Oh, okay.
Unquote.
Certainly not all of the monetary obstacles that they have to overcome.
Or
social
or legal.
Yeah.
Literal legal ones that say you're not allowed to play on these fields for how long. I granted, we were in 1994 now, but things are not progressing quite that quickly. Nicholas later clarified this comment, and I'm not sure that he did a very good job of clarifying it. Rather, he just added more confusion when he emphasized that he is absolutely not racist and, quote, I said, the kids today are gravitating to the sports that best fit their body and the environment they're growing up. The white society, to a large degree, is becoming non-functional.
Great.
Whites are spending time in cars. They're sitting behind desks. They're not out exercising.
This is the 90s.
Whereas the young Black kid is in an environment where he's exercising. His muscles develop, and they develop to the degree of that type of sport. I think the opportunity is there for young Black kids to play golf, just like the opportunity is there for young white kids to play basketball, but I don't think they're gravitating to the same level, unquote.
Sorry.
Please.
First of all, I would just like to say, it's 1990. You and I are alive, right?
We're young, but we're more than alive. It's not like we're infants.
You're pointing out that white society is essentially being lazy, you know what I mean? Like sitting in cars, sitting behind desks, and Black kids are what?
Yes.
First of all, do you not see an issue with that?
Yes. Well, that's exactly where I wanted this conversation to go, because I don't think this clarification helps because it not only continues to perpetuate racial stereotypes, but it also doesn't make sense. Is he saying that white people are better built for playing golf because they sit in cars and behind desks?
So they're like essentially lazy.
Don't understand what he's trying to say.
But also like, so you're essentially saying that like black people aren't sitting in cars. Like there's plenty of.
Yes, but I think that's the racial stereotyping that he's doing here is like white Americans are working in offices, they're driving cars. Black Americans are walking to work and they have physical labor jobs. I mean, that's kind of the way I'm reading this,
that's
right?
exactly how that's what I'm inferring from what he's saying. But that's stupid.
But also, yes, it's also stupid because it still doesn't make sense. It's a very racist, stereotyping thing to say.
Yes.
But if you really actually believe this, what you're also saying of those white people that are sitting behind desks and in cars is that they're lazy and that golf does not require someone to be athletic.
Belittling your sport.
It's like the whole thing. I'm like, you did not help yourself. In fact, what you did was come across as even more racist, and not only racist, but just confusing.
Yeah.
Like, I need clarification for the clarification, please.
Please.
Oh, you know what? I changed my mind. I don't care. I don't even need you to clarify. I
don't care what you say or
what is
think.
That quote? I've seen what I needed to see.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good. I've seen,
absolutely no. Absolutely no.
I'm telling you, I've seen what I needed to see. Thank you, Justin Bieber.
I'm pretty sure,
quote.
Justin Bieber, yeah.
The fact that there have been so many barriers for black athletes in order to keep them out of the professional sport of golf for so long is what makes it all the more incredible that arguably the greatest golfer of all time and the youngest player to win the Masters, Eldrick Tiger Woods, is an African Asian American. And despite the fact that Woods' first Masters win would occur in 1997, and I personally, naively, hope that Woods did not face the same kind of racism that previous players had now that we're into the late 90s. He certainly did.
I'm sure, yeah.
In fact, there is a particularly heinous quote. It comes from Fuzzy Zoeller, a Masters champion who was playing along, or rather playing pretty far behind, Woods in the 1997 Masters. When asked by reporters how Zoeller thought Woods was doing, he said, quote, "He's doing quite well. Pretty impressive. That little boy is driving well and he's putting well. He's doing everything it takes to win. So you know what you guys do when he gets in here? You pat him on the back and say congratulations and enjoy it and tell him not to serve fried chicken next year. Got it? Or collard greens or whatever the hell they serve." Unquote.
I know we don't need to, but like, firstly, let's talk about the historical context of calling black men boys.
Yes.
Because ew.
Yep.
Gross.
Yep.
And then obviously the very not so subtle dig at the racist comment of serving fried chicken or whatever.
Yes.
Ew.
All of it.
That's like heinous.
Yes. Like the quotes keep getting worse. In 2008.
So we were in high school.
Yeah, let me repeat that. 2008. Kelly Tillman, a white woman who was a broadcaster for Golf Channel at the time, was talking about how the only way that Woods could be brought down from his position as the greatest golfer of all time would be if the other players, quote, lynch him in a back alley, unquote. She said this on television. Another professional golfer, Sergio Garcia, as recently as 2013, also made a comment about serving Woods fried chicken. As young as 14 years old, Woods was very, very aware of the racism within golf. At 14 years old, he was interviewed about it and said, quote, "Every time I go to a major country club, I always feel it. Can always sense it. People are always staring at you. What are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. When I go to Texas or Florida, you always feel it. They're saying, why are you here? You're not supposed to be here. That's probably because that's where all the slavery was," unquote. The Masters has largely done nothing to acknowledge their very racist history. In one step toward progress, the club announced that Lee Elder would be one of the honorary starters of the 2021 Masters, alongside Nicklaus and Gary Player. And I kind of emphasize the 2021 just because, again, I want us to acknowledge
it's current.
It's current. And I think that social and political context matters as well.
Yeah.
Like everything that's been going on the last handful of years, they're trying to appear as though they're meeting the moment.
Yeah.
And the fact that Elder was an honorary starter for the Masters, it's a really big deal. In fact, Elder was later quoted as saying of this event that, quote, "For me and my family, I think it was one of the most emotional experiences that I've ever witnessed or been involved in. It is certainly something that I will cherish for the rest of my life," unquote. Little did anyone know or expect, but later that year, Elder would pass away at 87 years old. Not long before his passing, Augusta National also announced that they would be creating 2 golf scholarships in honor of Elder to students at Payne College, a historically black college and university. Bob Costas, a sportscaster for NBC Sports, has publicly criticized others in his profession for not openly acknowledging the Masters' racist history. He stated in a quote, "What no CBS commentator has ever alluded to, even in passing, even during a rain delay, even when there was time to do so, is Augusta's history of racism and sexism. Even when people were protesting just outside the grounds, forget about taking a side, never acknowledging it," unquote. And while I think what Costas said is absolutely correct and right, I do think it's worth noting that Costas does not work for CBS and was not at risk of being fired from CBS for vocalizing these true statements. I think it's easier and safer to vocalize these sorts of things when your job is not at stake. And that's not me saying that I don't think that
it should be.
Yeah, I don't think that they should be in a position of their job being jeopardized because they tell the truth. Or also that I don't think that people should, even if they're in that position, like maybe you shouldn't because I don't want you to lose your job. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I think that he had a safe enough distance to criticize someone else for something that he wouldn't even ever be in the position to do.
Yeah.
To briefly acknowledge the sexism, since we have spent the majority of this episode discussing the racism instead, Augusta National would not admit its first female members until 2012. And the 2 women they admitted were Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice and American investor Darla Moore. In 2019, Augusta National did hold their first women's tournament, the Augusta National Women's Amateur, on the same course as the men's major. But when asked, Chairman of the Augusta National Golf Club, Fred Ridley, said that the club has no plans in the future of ever creating a women's Masters. I think the first step in killing racism is acknowledging it. And I certainly learned a lot when researching this episode and fully acknowledged the blatant racist history of the Masters Golf Tournament. It will now be a matter of continuing to educate and circulate that information and watching to see how those in power make decisions in the future to further promote equality on the field and even in the state of Georgia as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I want to end this episode with a great quote from an article that I read in my research. It was an opinion piece for the Washington Post written by Hamal Javeri, in which she stated of the Masters, quote, "The purpose of sports may be to distract us, but that does not excuse glossing over the institution's racist and sexist history. Until Augusta National faces that responsibility, its fabled green jacket is just another empty suit," unquote.
Damn, Hamal.
Yeah. Any thoughts?
Just pure rage.
Yeah, just rage.
Unbridled rage.
Yeah.
And just disappointment.
Yep.
And I mean, hope that things can only get better, but I'm not that hopeful.
I was gonna say, you hope that things get better, but it's like so much of this episode, my research was in the last 10 years. Like
I know, that's what's so disappointing. I was in college. Yeah. I was an adult.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago.
And I think something else you said too is you're not necessarily hopeful that things are getting better. Mm-hmm. It's like in some ways you do see that they seem like they are, but in other ways, if as recently as this last year, the chairman was saying like,
"No, we're not going to have a women's tournament."
Exactly. Yeah. Like, oh no, we have no intentions of doing that in the future. Like, so you're already making this decision to not progress further.
Yeah. And I do, you kind of hinted at this, I feel like at one point, where I do feel like the progress that we're seeing is very much like capitalizing on
the moment
where, okay, Black Lives Matter was a huge thing in 2020 and 2021. So of course they're going to invite a black golfer.
Yep.
Like
exactly. It's like they make these what appear to me to be more performative things without ever still acknowledging their past.
Yeah.
And even their current infrastructures. Like I just feel like that's the first step.
And I feel like it's also really important to acknowledge that the intention behind things is just as important as the actual actions themselves.
Yeah.
So again, the intent, it feels from an outsider's perspective, more like you said, performative, is the intent really to continue to progress here? It doesn't seem like it from the little I've learned. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's, I would say the same. From what I did in my research, it does not appear that way.
Yeah.
Crazy, right? So just think about that the next time. I'd say the next time you're watching golf, but who's kidding? We're not watching golf. We're not watching golf. Who am I kidding? Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Hashtag History.
We will share the picture that we discussed on today's episode to our Instagram, and all sources used to put together this episode by the Miss Rachel can be found on our website at hashtaghistory-pod.com.
Subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you use. Share about us with your family and friends. And then we would love if you give us a rating review on Apple Podcasts. You can give us a star rating and a written review. And on Spotify, you can't do the written review, but it's super, super easy just to give the really quick star review. So we would love it if you did that.
All right. Find us on Instagram. You can be sure to check us out there at #history_podcast. And we're also on TikTok at #history, all one word. And then on Twitter at #history_.
And I just thought of this. We never say this, but we like receiving emails.
Oh, yeah.
So our email address is #history1865@gmail.com. If you want to send us something fun, or, maybe a suggestion for an episode.
Totally. We'd love it.
And we also have a P.O. box, which is on our website, the address. So if you want to send us mail, that would be great too. And we also would love it if you came over and joined us on Patreon. It's only $1 a month, and that directly helps support our books and booze supply. By joining our Patreon, you get access to behind-the-scenes content. We release weekly #hangout episodes. You get an automatic 15% off all merchandise, and we mail out cards and stickers.
We sure do.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye. Oh my god.
What?
Well, if you can't line up our claps, you can line up my obnoxious snort right there. All right. Truly my only exposure to watching golf before marrying Alex was, I have a very vivid memory. I had a girlfriend that growing up, she and I were like besties, and we slept over each other's houses like every other weekend. Mm-hmm. And I can remember she lived with her grandparents, and it was like every Saturday morning I would unintentionally end up watching golf because she would still be asleep, I would be awake, and her grandpa and I would just sit in like side-by-side rocking chairs together while he watched golf at like 6 a.m. in the morning when I couldn't sleep. And I'd be kind of like, I mean, I'm like 12 or something. I was like nodding in and out of sleep. Yeah. But I would kind of catch a little bit of golf. That was my exposure to golf in my entire life. That was the exposure.
Looks like dehydrated pee.
That's what my pee has looked like for like 2 weeks.
A little cloudy. Yeah.
Exactly like that. Like, you need to see a doctor. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. I did put a little limoncello in.
Did you?
And we put a little slushy splash. I sense you're going to give us a 5-star rating.
I know. Did you catch me? Just like, stop. Don't tell the people what to do.
Sorry, I'm about to burp. We're also on TikTok at #history_. Oh no.